Let's start streaming, see what happens. Starting. You are live.
Awesome. Just crossed the 1,700 subscribers threshold as well.
Cool.
Getting started, everybody. So if you're tuning in, you're watching a little bit of the background stuff that happens here at Crypto Traders Pro. Matt and I getting set up, making sure everything works properly. We'll post the link to Facebook for the live video.
I don't even know where the link is.
I just snagged it. If you're on the homepage of the Crypto Traders YouTube page, it'll pop up. We are live. Join us.
I can't pull that up because I'm the one streaming.
Ah, makes sense. All right, cool. All right, I shared it into the Facebook group. I will share on the news page. We're just getting started, everybody. If you're watching us, we are just getting everything rolling right now. We're going to start the informational portion shortly. Get your questions ready, and we will have answers available for you. We are live.
Got it. Discord.
Cool. Just sharing around the internet. If you're tuning in, join us. Please share. You can share the live stream. You can share the live stream right into actually anywhere on social media. If you want to share on Twitter, Instagram, Medium, share on your personal blog, share on your website. Share everywhere. Let everybody know there is a free webinar. Anybody can join. It's YouTube. It's wide open. There's no subscription or anything necessary. We'll be ready to rock and roll. Looks like we got 16 viewers, so people are starting to come in, click in, rock and roll. So let's see here. All right, well, let's get started. Let's talk about what's going on in the crypto corner or crypto universe. So I'm Kurt Wooker Jr. I got Matthew John here. We the two partners running Crypto Traders Pro, the pro community at CryptoTradersPro.com. I should start by saying, first of all, we are not registered investment advisors. Nothing that we say should be misconstrued as buy or sell advice. Nothing we say should be misconstrued as legal advice or tax advice. You need to be your own boss, do your own research, be your own bank, and only gamble with money you are willing to lose. This live cast and everything else that happens in the Crypto Traders Pro and Crypto Traders universe is for edutainment purposes only. We're here to have a good time, talk about the markets, talk about what we do, but we are not giving advice. So you have been forewarned. It is possible to lose absolutely everything you put in. But we don't believe it's going that way. So we are looking at, interesting, we've had a little bit of a blip down. We had, 2 or 3 straight weeks of green in the markets. Bitcoin was looking good. Ethereum was looking good. And then the last, I guess about 24 hours, a little more than that, we've been starting to do the little bit of a downtick, which is to be expected. But I think we're pretty healthily out of the bear channel. But what do you think, Matt? You got the chart up?
You better hope so. I sure hope so.
Yeah.
But so right now I have the daily chart up. This is a Bitcoin. What we want to do is go over all the main coins first, do a kind of market update, see how everything is shaking around right now. Looking at the daily chart, it's not totally done. But if we do bring it over to the weekly chart, which it's always important to zoom out as far as you can, this will be the 4th lower high consecutively since the middle of December. So right here was the high around 20K. The next time it had a high, it was around 17K. The next time was around 12K, and now we're at 10K. So I'm not saying we're in a bear market. This is the first red week over the last 5 weeks, but it is technically considered a lower high on the weekly chart. But I'm hoping it turns around. Now if we bring it down to the daily, it bounced right off this area, which was known as the previous resistance level. So right here was resistance. It broke out past that, tested it as support, resistance here, Now it's acting as support here. So past resistance, past support, it acts as support again on the downside. I actually just opened up a long. I got on BitMEX. Very first time I'm starting to trade on BitMEX, just messing around, very low amount of money. But I opened a long right around 8,300, and it's up a little bit right now, but BitMEX is a very risky exchange. I don't really like it. It feels like a casino to me. It's just a bunch of flashing lights, flashing numbers. I don't think it's very professional at all. I prefer Bitfinex, but I was curious to try it out. So they do offer 100 times leverage. So if you're really feeling like a gambler, then that is where you want to be.
It's terrifying. What is the if let's say you go max leverage? Let's say you went in on $100 and you had max leverage, like so you spent $1,000. Would that be right, or would it be 100 times 100's 1,000, right? Or is it 10,000?
10,000.
God. So okay, so you've got $100 worth of equity or collateral or whatever, and you're going in $10,000. You go in at $8,300. What's your liquidation price on that? Like 82.80 or something like that?
It would probably move down like 3% and you would get liquidated. So there's actually something on Twitter. It's called BitMEX Rect. I'll show you guys here. And I definitely recommend you follow this account. Just it's kind of funny, but it's also kind of sad at the same time. So what this account does is tweet when people get liquidated, whether it's long or short. So it's fun. It's a bot synced with Bitfinex, and every time somebody gets liquidated, it lets you know. So if I'm out and about and not really checking the charts, but I go on Twitter, this is going to give me an idea of what Bitcoin's doing. Whenever it makes a violent move in either direction, people are getting liquidated because, I mean, I'd be curious how much BitMEX makes, because it's just liquidation after.
Oh yeah, they're killing it. Not to mention I think they've got, or at least on some days they've got the most Bitcoin trading volume as well. Like it kind of goes back and forth between BitMEX and Bitfinex. And now the new king of the altcoin markets is Binance, which basically didn't even exist 9 months ago, and now they're, I believe, the #1 volume altcoin exchange in the world. So congratulations, Binance.
Yeah, and I mean, I was really against Binance just because it's kind of shady marketing tactics. I saw they were like promoting Lambos and just ridiculous stuff. But I conformed. I went into Binance actually in March, and April was like one of the best months for me personally. My portfolio saw all-time highs, and that was just playing Binance. Every time I was going on Bitfinex and looking for a play, there was really nothing there. But Binance was where the money was in April. Right.
Yeah, it's incredible. Just an incredible amount of well, I mean, when it first opened up, I opened an account because I typically open an account at every new exchange. So like when KuCoin opened, like, okay, I'll open an account, I'll check it out. But like obviously there's no volume, there's no liquidity. And then it's just kind of an exploration. You're like the first guy to, stake a flag in the ground and say, okay, what's this all about? And gosh, within 3-4 months, like everything big was happening at Binance, and I don't even know why. Like I don't even think it's that nice of an exchange. I don't really like their interface, but there's a lot of action there, so it's exciting. Exciting to see. It's cool that there's an altcoin exchange that wants to do business, because Bittrex seems like they just don't really care about doing business anymore for whatever reason, and it's unfortunate because it's made a lot of money at Bittrex, but now Binance is the new king. That's the new king of altcoins anyway. So playing against BTC and ETH pairs, that's the place to do it.
It's crazy how fast exchanges cycle. Back when I was like really getting hot into crypto, it was Poloniex, and there was even a troll box on the site, which was basically a chat box, and it was just all these people on the exchange talking crap. But then we migrated to Bittrex. That lasted about maybe 6 months tops.
Yeah, 6 months-ish. Yeah.
Binance came out of nowhere and they took over the game, but I still don't think they're the best. I prefer Bitfinex, but it's not for everybody. You need that 10K to even open the account. Right.
Yeah. No, Bitfinex by head and shoulders. But I guess I shouldn't say head and shoulders necessarily on a call about trading, but they are far above. They outclass every other exchange in my opinion, as far as like the tools go, the interface, like the trading engine is really, really solid. It's the only thing that makes us look professional. Every time I have a stock trading friend who's like, all right, let's see this crypto trading thing. Like, I am not showing them some of the junky exchanges because they will chuckle, but I show them Bitfinex and they're like, oh, this actually looks legit. You guys, you got your junk together. And so that's that's what we get. Then BitMEX looks like 1980s Vegas video game.
Yeah, it's just flashing light. I mean, it gets you. And there's a lot of people that shill BitMEX because they offer a nice referral incentive.
They do.
Bitfinex doesn't, so I think that's why it gets kind of a spotlight. But bringing it over to Ethereum, Ethereum actually had a much more impressive run than Bitcoin as of recent. I think Ethereum is more of a altcoin gauge of whether alts are going to do well or not, because there's hundreds of altcoins built on Ethereum. But we managed to get the bottom of this. I remember getting in at 375, riding it up, no longer in the trade, but the weekly chart doesn't look bad at all. Taking it over to the daily, it's not like a clear support area. It's bouncing off. I just kind of drew it up here. But it has acted as support in the past at around $640, but this is definitely, it's not looking too hot overall. I think this pullback was definitely justified. We went up pretty fast the last few weeks, and I think people seem to forget about that. Over the last couple weeks, it went up 135% top to bottom. So some sort of retracement was due. I don't know if that means this is a lower high, and now we're going down again and even setting lower lows. I certainly hope not, but it's definitely healthy to have some sort of pullback here. Yeah.
Well, let's hope that's all it is. It's always a little bit emotional, especially after January through mid-March. That was depressing times. It was the biggest pullback we've had since 2014. It was a little bit hard to predict, unless you look at the parabolic move on Bitcoin. I think the RSI got up to 97 or 98 or something at the very peak. And so, you could predict a healthy pullback, but I was not predicting a pullback that would be quite so powerful there. Yeah, look at that peak right there. What are we, 90?
A little over 90.
Okay. So, that's a huge run. And the pullback, I was expecting a pullback, back to 10 something. So I was not expecting 6. And then once it got to 6, I was calling for about 3K on Bitcoin, and then that didn't happen either. So Bitcoin is always a bit of a crazy animal. And I think people should remember, too, the technical analysis is an art, and it's an art that you get good at. It's not really a science. It is the art of thoughtful estimation based on human emotion, trying to read human emotion on a chart. So Litecoin looking interesting too.
Yeah, I remember posting up Litecoin. I posted this in the Facebook group. It was a signal in the pro group at $118, which was about $8, $9 from the bottom. That was somewhere over here. And the reason I liked that area is because it was previous support here. So I figured it would be a low risk play. If we were wrong, maybe it went down. And it would have been a 5% loss. But we happened to be right. It actually broke out of this channel. It kind of had two channels going on here. So the overall bigger picture was this big downward channel, which I was really hoping it would break out of, because otherwise we were headed down 80, 60.
Yeah.
That would have been scary. But it had this kind of little pump up right here and made this little sub channel. And then it eased its way out of it, holding this bottom $110 area as support. So it is coming down, and Litecoin has gotten crushed the last few days, much like Bitcoin, but Litecoin's gone down from 186 down to 141 currently. And Litecoin makes up a large majority of my portfolio, so it's definitely hurting me. I use Litecoin as my tool on Bitfinex to leverage trade, margin trade, because you do need a coin in there unless you're using Tether. So Litecoin has definitely hurt me the last few days, but I am still holding strong.
Looks good. It's interesting how similar the charts are. I think one of the questions we get most often is, why does everything so closely follow the Bitcoin pattern, and therefore, like, then why would we trade anything but Bitcoin, frankly, especially as like a USD pair? And I've been trying to do research and figure out like really exactly why that is. Like, is it bots that are all trading alongside Bitcoin, or is it bots that are like are the bots programmed to liquidate, jump into Bitcoin, that kind of thing, or like? Because it really just doesn't make sense. I mean, there's been a lot of conversation, especially in the pro group. We have a Discord group from CryptoTradersPro.com where our paid members, we talk about this all the time, and just trying to decide what is actually happening there. Like, why does Bitcoin have such an unbelievable amount of market dominance, so that like a completely unrelated project like Bitcoin versus let's say a coin like I don't even know, Neo or something, like, they don't do anything different. They shouldn't be competitors at all. Like, nothing that they like, there's no competition there, but their charts stay so closely aligned. And I'm curious what you think. Do you think it's a bot thing, or what is it in your opinion, Matt?
I just think Bitcoin's the king right now, and everything. It's not that everything. I think what we're looking at here is the USD pairs, because the sometimes, well, recently there's been some altcoins that haven't really been affected by this dip, but they're still, even though they are maintaining their Satoshi value, they're going to be dropping in USD value. So if we're looking at the USD charts, yeah, most of those follow. But if we bring up, say, the LTC BTC chart, it's a little bit different.
Yeah, totally different. Yeah.
It's gone down, but like it's maintained the same support. Like it's still in this same channel. So it's different. There's other altcoins out there we'll take a look at that have maintained their BTC value and even gone up, but their USD value is relatively gone down a little bit or unaffected because Bitcoin has gone down.
Sure.
Let's look at Bitcoin Cash, because that one did have another good run as well.
Yeah, it sure did.
Compared to this one, I think Bitcoin, out of all the large caps, Bitcoin Cash and Ethereum did the best over this past run. It went up a total of 200%.
Yeah.
But it's also been coming down pretty hard lately. It got as high as 1850. Right now it's at 1400. But the volume on Bitcoin Cash has really been heating up, and I think that's something we've been lacking on a lot of other coins. Going back to LTC USD, the volume has just not been there. This is daily chart. So if we zoom out, look at the volume right here compared to volume before.
Right, and decreasing. Like, it's in a decreasing volume.
Yeah.
Just day to day.
There's not many buyers out there, and it's kind of confusing because we keep getting all this good news in the market saying all these hedge funds and millionaire investors and billionaires and all this money supposedly coming in, but where is it? The lack of volume is saying otherwise.
Right.
So
they're waiting.
maybe they're manipulating the price down. Maybe they want to get in lower. Maybe they're getting in over the counter.
I imagine, if I was, NASDAQ, like, I would probably not be opening a Bitfinex account. Like, I would be, going to OTC and trying to make, $100 million purchase at a time or whatever, but, negotiating for a rate that works based on that kind of volume as well.
Yeah.
But
and you have to be, to become an OTC buyer, you have to be, I think, an accredited investor. We were talking about that yesterday. Yeah, and there's all kinds of qualifications for it too. Like, there's minimums that you have to buy quarterly, and they're big, very big numbers. So I don't even know. I don't know who's facilitating it, honestly. Like, who's got that much Bitcoin? First of all, I guess just the exchanges. But it's just interesting. It's a really interesting business model. Let's jump over to EOS, which has been a really hot play throughout April. It is getting torched. But let's talk about it, because this was getting a lot of hype in April. This was like one of the biggest talks in the Crypto Traders Pro group. We were all talking about EOS. I think everybody had it, or almost everybody had some portion of EOS. I decided to take my profits looking at the EOS BTC chart. Let's see. I took my oh man, I wish I was still shorting this. I was shorting this at one point, but I stopped. I took my profits between 200k and 220k satoshis, and I started shorting it at 220k satoshis right up here. And I am really kind of upset right now that I'm not shorting it, because I had a really good position open up here, and now it's just getting absolutely slaughtered.
Yep.
And I figured, because there was just so much hype coming into it. And this leads us to our next topic of the mainnet catalyst. And I think what I've noticed is a pattern. Whenever we see a mainnet launch coming up, there's a massive run that leads up to it. But it's usually not sustained. Like EOS, for example, their mainnet is supposed to be launching in the next, 3 weeks?
Like 2.5 weeks, yeah. It's getting close.
And it's getting crushed right now. So what we saw leading up to that mainnet launch was a huge, just massive run. It went from, looking at USD values, it went from the high 3s up to 23, a 350% increase in Satoshi value. And I caught a lot of this move. I think a lot of us did, because this was one we were talking about early April, end of March. And yeah, I think that hype is kind of, I didn't think it would be sustained, because it just got, it went up way too fast. Looking at the RSI was about 90 at its highest point. People thought it was just kind of coming down, getting ready for the next leg up, but you have to realize that it's already had a massive run behind it. So the risk reward of jumping in a trade up here is not good. And I think some people, they ended up getting burned on this by going and betting too big on EOS and not looking at the chart, but more focusing on the fundamentals that is behind it.
Right. Well, and that's been a big discussion. In fact, we put a short-term rule in place that we will not be discussing EOS anymore for a couple of days. We all needed a little bit of a break. Obviously, we've been talking about it a lot. It was a big runner. And it was one that we caught really early. It's one we've been talking about for a very long time. One of our VIP members, Bill, got into EOS very cheap. He's very hot on it, very hot on the technology. Dan Larimer is the guy behind EOS, and he's the guy behind BitShares as well as Steemit, which are both not, in my opinion, the most successful blockchains, except for by one metric, and that metric is the fact that they have more transactions per second than any other chains. They do this with the DPoS, the delegated or distributed. I always forget if it's delegated or distributed proof of stake model. And it has a lot of advantages in that you can do tons and tons of transactions per second. So that's what everybody's excited about with EOS being something of an Ethereum killer, which, again, there's a lot of competition in that space too, but a lot of people have been hot on it in the Crypto Traders group, our pro group. We've really spent a lot of time looking into EOS, buying EOS early. It was actually my best trade ever. I got into EOS first in September. I bought my first portion at 58 cents. It was USD, so I bought with USD, but I got in at 58 cents. I sold out of it at about $15. It bounced the first time, I think, at about $18. Came back down, refueled. I rebought a bunch at $6 and then sold again at like 21, just about, I don't know, 10 days ago or so. So EOS has been my personal best trade ever. Really excited about it, but then it turned into an argument in the group because a lot of people are like, hey, fundamentally, this coin could be, the greatest coin ever, basically. The discussion was, could EOS replace everybody? Could EOS be the number one coin? And, I think there's an argument to be made for such a thing based on the fundamentals. But, we always have to stress, and one of the things that I stress perpetually is that, things need to come back down. As Matt said about 2 or 3 minutes ago, how much more of a run does it have? What would I be doing right now if I was holding for, $25 or $30? Well, I'd be, down quite a bit of money, sitting at, I think it's sitting in the 13s right now, $13 area. So, I got out an average a little bit over $20. I'm completely out of EOS right now. I have zero, but I've made a lot on it. It was a really, really successful trade. It was a trade where the fundamentals and the chart and everything kind of worked out. Yeah, for me. So for me personally, EOS has a warm place in my heart going forward, unless something terrible happens, I suppose. But looking forward to seeing kind of what the next step is. If the mainnet launch is successful, I think EOS can end up being a coin that is maybe redefines the space, at least in a little bit. So like it'll be one of those coins that says, hey, we can be more things to more people than even Ethereum, maybe even Bitcoin, if we're talking about replacing the king. And so it's a pretty exciting little piece of technology there, and it's been a hell of a trade. And if you were in the Crypto Traders Pro group at CryptoTradersPro.com, we could have been arguing about EOS nonstop for the past probably 3 weeks now.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, not bad there.
Yeah, I was just drawing some fun on the EOS chart. Yeah, and I like the project. I think it will probably do well. It'll probably bounce back. It just needs a correction. Yeah,
absolutely.
My target here for this correction would be this previous all-time high level, because that's going to act as support on the downside. So right here on the chart is where I'm expecting it to come down. It still has another maybe 15-20%, I think. It could even come down further, but that if I was looking to buy in for the long term, it would be right around here, because that gives us a good opportunity to jump in. But man, I wish I was still shorting this. I took my profits as well, which is what I encourage everybody to do. When you see these coins go 200, 300% in a short amount of time, don't be afraid to lock it in. Even if you are a fan of the project long term, you could always buy back in lower. 9 times out of 10, it's going to come back down.
Well, and I think people are worried that something is going to take off without them. I think that's the big fear, and which is we see. In fact, I know it's the big fear because you see it on the charts. You see things break out of resistance areas, and then you get these FOMO pushes, and then you get people that just buy and buy and buy because they think the rocket is taking off and that it's never going to come back. And one of the things that I say all the time is that there's always another rocket. If you missed your entry, let's say you wanted to buy EOS but you missed it, you didn't fill. Well, don't worry. There's a lot of other coins that are going to have big runs in them. Crypto is still a very young investment asset. There's not even actually a lot of use case going on right now. Right now, it's a lot of ICOs and a lot of promises, and how many places on earth can you spend your Bitcoin? And that's the real question there. So you're a very early adopter, and if something takes off, if it takes off without you, watch it go. Congratulate everybody that was in the trade. Look for a good entry. Look for something that has not taken off yet, or if you're trading on an exchange like Bitfinex or somebody else that allows margin trading, then you can start to short things that get way overextended. I think shorting EOS anywhere over $20, like getting an entry there and short trading it, is it's a good play to play. Bears make money, bulls make money, but don't be a pig, because pigs get slaughtered. And I don't remember who said that. I think that's from a movie.
Don't be a sheep.
Yeah.
Sheep get slaughtered.
Absolutely.
But pigs fly in crypto.
I like it.
But one thing I did want to touch on here is being realistic with your price targets in terms of USD value. And one trick, I guess, it's not really a trick, but one thing you should consider is, okay, if you think EOS is going to go to $30, well, you have to figure out if that market cap at a $30 evaluation is realistic. So in order to figure this out, you have to multiply the price by the circulating supply, and that would give you the market cap. So EOS at a $30 price, we're going to take $30 times 850,981,165. This would give us a $25 billion evaluation, which puts us just behind Ripple right now. So it's not far-fetched, but maybe it is for something that doesn't have anything yet.
Yeah, it's just an ERC20 token, guys. Like mainnet, I would actually, in fact, I've said we could even see EOS potentially be a $500 coin, but I'm talking like in the future when EOS has proven that it actually does something. And I say this as an EOS fan, so that's an important thing to remember.
I've heard people say like the $100 evaluation on EOS, but looking at it, $100 times again 850 million 981,165. That's going to give us $85 billion market cap, which puts it over Ethereum. Do we think EOS, which has nothing on it right now, will overtake Ethereum? Not now. It could in the future, but I think that's a ways away. So you have to look at EOS as saying, okay, I think this has more limited upside potential if you compare it to maybe some of the mid caps.
Right.
I like to do, if you guys watched the video on Neblio or Coin of the Week, I did the same thing with Neblio. And if Neblio has a $100 evaluation, it barely breaks the top 25. So I see that as being much more realistically attainable than something like EOS, which would be putting it at number 2 and not far behind Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm. Which is possible. If EOS gets some legs, I think we could see by this time in 2019, let's say the EOS mainnet launch does famously, and a bunch of these projects that are kind of languishing on the Ethereum blockchain, they move over, the transactions per second are better, they're cheaper, it can handle more volume. Like if all of those things come true, then there's really not a reason for some of these projects to not move off of Ethereum and move on to the EOS chain. If that starts to happen, then I think EOS could overtake Ethereum actually pretty easily. But we're not there yet, and people need to remember that this is all speculation. There's the same could be said for Cardano and Stellar and IOTA and Tron, which round out the smart contract platforms in the top 10. If any one of those has a successful mainnet launch and people start moving over to their chain in droves, any one of them could be a top 3 coin. Moving on past where they're at now. Looking down the list, we got NEM, VeChain, Ethereum Classic, Ikon, Qtum. I don't know, Zilliqa. Lisk is the same spot. All of these things. Wanchain there, Waves, BitShares, Stratus. All of these coins are kind of competing for the same thing. They want to be a platform upon which smart contracts are executed. And it's really about who's getting integrated into business first. And that's what I tell everybody. Like until there are business people waking up in the morning and saying, I hope our blockchain is working or else we're going to have a rough day, then it's all kind of speculation. Right now, it's really just traders. It's people doing ICO work. It's people fundraising. It's people, speculating on price. Because like I said, how many places can you even spend Bitcoin? Bitcoin with its $144 billion market cap right now. And, I would have to drive a ways to find a place where I can spend my Bitcoin directly. Of course, I've got my my BitPay card or whatever else, so I can cheat my way into spending Bitcoin. But
and while you're on the topic, I recommend you go check out my latest video where I review the website Cryptonize It. This is a website that allows you to buy anything under $250 using Bitcoin Cash, and this is not to support Bitcoin Cash, saying it's the best. That's Kurt's department, but I just like the utility behind it. Because if they made the same site for Bitcoin, maybe I'd use it. The fees might be a little high, but I like the idea behind it. So
absolutely.
So let's move on to our mainnet as a catalyst. And what I'm doing, I'm following this guide. You guys can see it in the description. I wanted to lay it out cleanly so you knew exactly what we're going to be talking about and when. So I'm just going down the list, talking about each of these topics, and we'll get to questions at the end. So mainnet as a catalyst. What I have come to realize over the last, let's say, since March, is when we see coins with mainnet being launched, this is obvious that these coins are going to run as the closer we get to the mainnet launch. So we saw this with EOS. This was a big win for us. We see this with Tron. Let's go over to the Tron chart. And there's a few other coins, and I want to get into them, but the whole goal here is finding out which coins have the mainnet launch way before the herd, way before everybody else out there, so we could get the most profits out of them. One example in here is Tron. This was a recent, it was a signal. This was one we talked about. I mean, this is one we've been talking about the last month or so. In the pro group, I even posted the chart in the Facebook group, so everybody should have had their hands inside of Tron sometime this last month. So what we're looking at here, what I was noticing, and again, this was back in early April we were watching this. This is ascending triangle pattern forming. So it's when it's making higher lows on the chart, trending upwards, but this is also a resistance point right here. So it's getting squeezed. It's coming to the point where it has to make a decision. It's either going to break out or break down. I bet that it would be breaking out. I took an entry right around 600 Satoshis, and I sold it up here before it pulled all the way back. But this was all due, I mean, this entire run, I think, was fueled from Tron having their mainnet launch. I think it's at the end of the month. Yeah?
Yep. Yeah, it's supposed to be, I always forget if it's because there's so many going on right around the same time. I don't know if it's June 1st or May 31st or it's one of those. It's definitely the next 3-ish weeks.
I'm going to pull them all up here. And this is a good site, cryptocurrency, CoinMarketCal.
Yeah.
So we got Tron mainnet launch May 31st or earlier.
There you go.
And EOS is on June 1st, 2nd.
Justin's son keeping it ambiguous.
Justin's son has been talking about this nonstop. You guys should follow him on Twitter if you don't already. It is hilarious seeing what this guy posts. But he's a good hype man, and that's fine because that brings attention to his project, which means we could make money off of it. I don't care if Tron succeeds or not. I'm in this to make profit in Bitcoin or USD, whatever I'm trading it against. So we're able to capture this move. I ended up getting out of it. I do think possibly it could get back up to the all-time highs, but what we were seeing here, and this is what I was concerned about, is like, man, we saw like 2 weeks of straight green. And I was noticing the RSI, again, this is an important indicator I think you guys should use. When the RSI gets above 80, I set it to 80. The default is 70-30, but I do 80-20. When it gets over 80, I mean, oh shit. Okay. When it gets over 80, I think most of the times we know a pullback is imminent. So it got to 86 here. It had this first pullback, and then I said I'm out. I sold it around 900 Satoshis. It was a nice win. It wasn't anything crazy, but from about 600 to 900, a 50% win. This was over the course of 2 weeks. Not bad. No, I'm not getting... We aren't getting 1,000% run out of it or a 500% run, but if you hit a few 50% wins and you're actually using size and not just putting 5% or 10% of your portfolio into it, then yeah, it's going to add up.
Right. You're still doing about 100 times better than you'd be doing with a mutual fund.
Yeah.
Like little plays. Like, you know, people ask, like, you know, first of all, like, there are not that many people in the space that are earning Lambos inside of 6 months. But if you just trade casually, like, I think that's a really good, like, this is a really good example of, like, a hype coin. You can buy it at support. You look to sell it at, you know, some kind of a resistance area and make even, you know, 20% profits on trading is really, really good. And you know, it's a lot better than you could be doing in the stock market. And one of the reasons, like, we like to trade crypto is exactly that. Like, we're not limited with stock market rules and people telling us what we can and can't do. If you can read a chart and it's not that hard, you can start to find, you know, this trend line, play the trend line, make 20, 30, 40, 50% in 2 weeks. You're doing better than typical, you know, Wall Street stock traders, unless, you know, they get super lucky and they're doing their
playing small caps.
Right, which in my opinion is actually more dangerous. I think playing small cap stocks is more dangerous than playing crypto, in my opinion.
It's like playing altcoins.
Yep.
But what I like about the Tron chart right now is it presents another good risk reward opportunity. And again, we're never sure, we're never 100% certain if these coins are going to go up or down. So all of our, I guess, entries are based on probabilities. and the odds. What are the odds of it maintaining this area? So right here, I see a pretty low risk play if we're getting in as close as possible to this, I guess, resistance line and trend line. So this trend line has been holding since mid-March. It's tested it once, twice, 3 times. It escaped very far away. Now it's coming back down to reality. So getting in as close to that trend line as possible, I think, presents another good entry on Tron. If it goes against you, you get out, you walk away, 5% loss, and you live to see another day. Don't hold these like this. This is a thing. Like, I just made a video in the How to Grow a Small Account series on YouTube. Like, you need to learn to take losses and get out before you're stuck holding it all the way back down. Like, that's, I'm not a fan of the just, well, for a small account. When you have a big account, it can be different. But when you have a small account, the hold mentality, I don't think is a good one, because you're going to get stuck holding these coins as they retrace, go all the way back down, and you're just sitting there waiting, twiddling your thumbs, waiting for them to go back up, instead of taking the 5 to 10% loss, moving on to the next play that might be a 50% winner. So, yeah, I'm not a fan of that mentality for growing the small account.
Yeah, no. And I think, you know, a lot of people look at traders as, you know, people that are just there to scalp money out of the market. And I want to be clear that what I'm trading for is for the sake of growing my bags in crypto. And, you know, playing with Tether and stuff is part of that, using USD as a safety zone sometimes. But, you know, I'm trying to accumulate. I know Matt's trying to accumulate a bunch of crypto too. Like, this is the time to be doing that. But, you know, playing altcoins, playing a coin like Tron, like, you know, when you've got these big moves, like, convert half, you know, like when you start hitting peaks, you know, sell, you know, a quarter of your trade at, you know, one resistance zone, sell another quarter of it at the next one up, that kind of thing. And then, you know, maybe let 50% ride, but even watching that 50% retrace is going to be hard. So, you know, don't be afraid to lock in profits, because nothing just goes up forever. Absolutely nothing. If anybody can show me a chart that just goes up, I will fly to your home and shake your hand.
Well, one, Ethereum, weekly. Well, it does go down, but overall, I mean, finding the next Ethereum is a goal for everybody. But even then, like, Ethereum has gone through points in its time, especially in 2017. It went through a point like right here. It just consolidated between 2 levels for, what, like 5 months or 6 months out of the year. It was bouncing between 400 and 300. Yeah, you could make plenty of trades during this time, but most holders aren't. They're just holding and waiting for it to increase in value. So instead of just sitting in a trade that's not really doing much, it already went up 2,000% on the year, why not take profits, roll them into something else that hasn't done a big move yet, and compound your account? You could always come back to Ethereum. I traded Ethereum probably a dozen different times in 2017. In fact, one of the times I traded it was this breakout move. I played the breakout, but I wasn't sitting in this sideways action for 6 months. I was in other trades building my account.
Yep. It's a beautiful thing. We got Jack on YouTube asking about, you know, stop losses. I think one of the things that confuses people about stop loss is, when do you, like, what's the best way to use a stop loss? I know what we don't want is to get wicked out of a move. So maybe you can talk about that for a moment, Matt.
I know I talked about this. I made a whole video on this on YouTube. So definitely go through the YouTube channel. There's so much good content we're just going to keep putting out. I'm doing the whole series, How to Grow Your Small Cryptocurrency Trading Portfolio. I suggest you watch those as well. It's usually weekly. I'm doing a video for that with just little tips that I learned, because, again, I started 2016 with $1,250, and I grew that from there. So I have a ton of good advice, and I'm just going to keep adding to that series. One of them is the stop losses. I don't really use stop losses. I more so use mental stop losses, which means that I'm not going to set an actual hard stop, but I will just mentally say, okay, if it drops below this number and the day closes below this number, then I'm going to sell. But I don't like the hard stop loss, because then you're going to get wicked out a lot, and I don't like that. So mental stop loss prevents that, but you also have to be disciplined enough to say, I'm going to get out of this position and actually execute instead of just holding. And I find myself in that dilemma all the time. There's been plays that I say I'm going to take the stop loss here, and I don't, and then I end up writing it down. I mean, I'm not a perfect trader either by any means, so it's a constant learning process, and the more disciplined you are, the better you're going to be off.
Yeah, for sure.
So the last mainnet play that I want to talk about was Ven, and I think this is going to be a good play even now and maybe even the first couple weeks of June. So if you guys are looking for a possible trade, this is one we've been talking in the pro group the last maybe 2-3 weeks. It's been a watch list pick. If you guys are subscribed to our watch list, where I do a video every week on Monday, 3 to 5 coins I review, say what I'm looking for on the charts, possible entries, upcoming news, and Ven or VeChain has been one I've been talking about the last few weeks because of the mainnet launch. Now, this is one that hasn't had the hype yet. It has had some movement on the charts, but it hasn't had that big hype push. We see right here on June 30th, VeChain is going to be launching their mainnet, so it's still about a month and a half away. Right now, it is creeping up back to those previous highs. Maybe it gets there, maybe it doesn't, but I'm betting it will, based on the chart. The chart has been on a slow, steady uptrend. We haven't seen anything crazy lately. I think we ended up getting in on this breakout retest play. So somewhere right here. So it ended up, here's resistance right here, and it broke out of resistance, came back down, retested as support. That was our original entry. It was a watch list pick this week, and it did this pattern and we jumped in. So right now it's slightly above where we got in. Hasn't done anything crazy yet, but I don't think the public has really caught on. I don't think the herd has jumped onto this one. I think they're still in Tron and EOS still. So if we can stay one step ahead of everybody else, or the majority of people, we're going to be consistently making money. So we know right now, Mainnet, whenever you hear the word Mainnet, that is like the big news right now. When we see Mainnets coming out, we know a surge in price is going to be following that news. And I think VeChain is going to be the next one up to do a run. We caught EOS, we caught Tron. I'm betting on VeChain next.
Yeah, I think that's wise. And some of the other one of the other coins that we've looked at and talked about a bit. In fact, it was coin of the week. I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, we did Enigma, and I believe their mainnet launch is going to be next
Q3.
Quarter. Yeah, it's Q3. So that's another one to look at on dips. When you see Enigma take a big dip, not a bad one to snag up to get in early for their mainnet launch. I think Enigma is going to be one of those coins that is, I think it'll surprise a lot of people. I think a lot of people aren't aware of what is going on in the Enigma space, but it's got a lot of use case that is not being addressed by a lot of people, frankly.
Yep, this is one of my holds that I've been accumulating. I just put out an update the other day on Telegram. I told everybody what's in my long-term portfolio and my thoughts on each position that I'm in. Some of them I don't necessarily want to be in long-term. I'm still in, but looking for an exit. Some of them I really like. I'm looking to add. So if you're in the Telegram, the way you get in the Telegram is you become a member of the pro group, whether you get the watch list, signals, course, or join the pro community. You get access to the Telegram group and everything we put in there. So there's a lot of good information in Telegram. I broke down my entire portfolio, and Enigma is in there. So the reason I'm holding Enigma, again, the mainnet launch is coming in Q3, but also masternodes. I am a fan of the masternode because you're constantly receiving dividends for just holding the coin in your wallet. So Enigma is going to have masternodes. I'm not sure how many you need. I'm betting that it's going to be either 5,000 or 10,000 based on the price and the other masternodes out there in the space. That's what I would bet on. So I'm looking to accumulate 10,000 of them at least and end up holding. So Enigma's been one that hasn't really been affected by the dip of everything else, or the top coins. It's been riding this trend line again since the beginning of March or middle of March. I still think it's a solid pick. We haven't seen a huge hype push, but we have seen some consistent volume over the last month and a half.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, before we move on, I want to show you guys other mainnet launches, so you could keep an eye on all these charts. I grabbed this screenshot from the pro group. So other mainnets coming up. These are all of them. Somebody found this list. Nulls. This is one that we played in the pro group as well. I think Jeff is the one that brought this up. We already got EOS. We got VeChain. We're talking about Enigma. So these other ones, there's a lot of small caps out there too. And I'm not sure entirely how accurate this list is, so you guys are going to have to go through this and look. But a lot of these, I think, are smaller cap coins, which means they probably have more upside potential than a lot of the larger caps. I think this one's a good one. HPB, what is it? Hyper...
That one I don't know.
HPB. A lot of people have been talking about this. Let me just look it up.
So many coins out there.
High performance blockchain, yeah. So this
there
one's been getting talked about a lot. Low supply, 29 million. But yeah, you guys should go through this list. Feel free to take a screenshot of this and just double check. These might not all be true. I don't think Enigma's is coming out in June. It might be, but I don't think so. The Key, that one got a lot of talk on our thread in the group about small caps that I posted. But yeah, go through this list. It's a good tool. Mainnet as a catalyst. Look for the ones in late June and also July, because those are going to be the next ones coming up. I remember last year in the summer, whenever we saw the word masternode in news, coins would fly. Strat went like 4,000% because they said they're going to announce masternodes, and they still don't have masternodes. So just the word masternodes, like, coins would fly. So this time around, I feel like it's mainnet. We hear the word mainnet, things fly.
Yep, for sure.
Let's move on. Consensys. How do you think it'll affect the market, Kurt?
Well, you know, the Consensys meetup or Consensys convention or whatever they call it is one of the biggest. It's one of the most important meeting of the minds in the cryptocurrency space. The tickets were about $2,000 this time around, which in my opinion is
3,000.
absurd. Was it 3,000? Yeah. So, you know, you're looking to attract big developers. You're looking to attract people that are, you know, in the space as successful business people. So when it's a meeting of the minds, we're really talking about like a meeting of the important big business people in the space, talking about everything from the business of blockchain to the development of blockchain stuff. You know, it used to be a heavier Bitcoin community. Now with, you know, the rise of Ethereum and the ICO space, there's a lot of smaller projects that are in the space there. But it's, you know, where you get some of the you know, the sound clips of people up there talking and, you know, up on stage, shilling their coin, explaining, you know, all the different things going on in the space. What's cool is that there's typically a lot of big-ish announcements. There's usually a few coins that'll make some big announcement or talk about their successes over the last year and that kind of thing. It's kind of like, you know, Apple Computers always did well around the Worldwide Developer Conference that they used to hold back when Steve Jobs would get on stage and, you know, show you what the next iPhone was going to look like or whatever else. And so that's kind of the blockchain version of Steve Jobs walking out and telling the world how he's going to change it over the next year. So it's exciting. As far as price action goes, I'm always a little bit unsure. I think it really depends on the nature of the news that comes out. The old adage in trading in general, this is prior to crypto trading, is, you know, buy the rumor and sell the news. So if there's kind of a lot of underwhelming news, I think you could see that negatively affect the market as well. But mostly I'm excited as a, you know, somebody with a kind of a long-term trading mindset. Like I'm not a day trader. I'm a swing trader. I'm in trades for weeks or months at a time. For me, I really like the development aspect of it. I like the science. I like the economics of blockchain. So I'm excited for some of the speakers that are there to talk about, banking the unbanked and how their projects are going to, revolutionize the economy, which makes us all wealthier, not just people that are, part of, hashtag HODL gang prior to the Consensys conference, but. I think it's interesting. I'm excited about a lot of stuff that comes out of there. So, just looking forward to it, basically.
I think it's good to see consistent growth year after year.
Yeah.
So if we don't see growth, then that's a bad thing. But
for sure.
Looking at the year after year growth, now they're projecting over 7,000 people there. Last year it was like 2,700. So, it's pretty cool. I don't know if this is... They say... I've seen a lot of charts flying around there saying every year around consensus the market pumps, or after consensus the market pumps. Yeah. I'm not sure. The market conditions are very different this year than they've been in the past.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be banking on that, but there's probably going to be a lot of good news to come out of there. There might be a few surprises. I posted a picture the other day in the group about the first... beer dispensing
the Civic machine.
Yeah, what is it? Pop machine?
It's like a vending machine.
Vending machine, that's the word.
Yeah.
So it's a beer vending machine, and it's all through Civic, which is a cryptocurrency or asset, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And you're able to prove your identity using the Civic app. You don't need to hold your identity up to it. You just do it right through the app, which I think is really cool.
Right.
I guess what I'm concerned about is so if that's what Civic is doing, how does that compare to something like Enigma, which seems to be doing something similar?
I think Civic is really specifically focused on giving a sort of like replacing governance. What does the word civic even mean? It's a word based in explaining one's relationship to government, essentially like a citizen. A civilian. These are people that are part of a group. So Civic is really specifically, gauged toward going to, let's say places in the third world, places in Southeast Asia or Africa or South America where people don't have an identity. They don't have a birth certificate. They don't have, any kind of proof of work history or legal records, that kind of thing. So it's very hard for them to get jobs. It's hard for somebody that's born in the sticks to move to the city and get a job because they don't even exist on paper. Civic is looking to kind of establish a blockchain identity for people like that. It has the first world application of, yes, I can just have a Civic code that, I don't have to show my ID to every store clerk, and I don't have to give my ID or my social security number to the bank in order for them to run my credit, that kind of thing. So that's kind of the option there. The problem with Civic is, essentially it's an Ethereum asset and has some of the perks of that, but it also has the openness of the blockchain. You can figure that kind of information out. What Enigma is trying to do is take the smart contract one step further, and the next step is the secret contract. So the secret contract is you're bundling it, you're cryptographically locking that into another layer of hiding of cryptography, I guess. So Enigma wants to make it that it's much harder for your stuff to get nabbed. So think like, the importance of medical records, tax records, your social security number, your whatever your government ID, your PIN numbers, that kind of stuff can be programmed with Enigma. So they're looking to kind of fix some of the privacy concerns that would come along with something like Civic. It's not to say I think Civic is actually a really good idea. I think, as we look down the road, let's say, 5 years down the road, I think both Civic and Enigma can be successful, but they'd be successful in very different ways. People from sub-Saharan Africa looking to move to, let's say move to a big city in Nigeria or something to try to get an office job, they'd be more likely to use Civic. Whereas someone like me or you, Matt, when we're trying to apply for a mortgage or something and we don't want the bank to have all of our personal financial information, but we want to be able to verify that we have credit, but just not, have our paperwork floating through some office somewhere, that would be more of an Enigma application. So I think both can be successful, but they're a little bit different, application.
Yeah. So overall, I think I'm really excited to see Consensys. Hopefully, there's some sort of live stream. We aren't going to be attending the event.
Yeah.
Maybe next year. But I'm hoping there's some sort of live stream. I did notice here. I previously did work at FedEx, and they're going to be having FedEx here. They're doing a fireside chat with FedEx.
Cool.
I think one of those, the supply chain management.
Yeah.
FedEx, UPS. Oh man, that'd be huge.
Yeah, it'd be huge for them. It would give them a ton of efficiency. I used to work in warehousing and stuff too. So Matt was a FedEx driver, and I was the kind of guy that would give Matt 100 packages in the evening. So we worked on two sides of supply chain there. But I was still doing 2-part forms, 3-part forms. It was just a couple of years ago. Writing stuff out on paper, and some of this stuff is manually input, and a bunch of that stuff is crazy when we have the ability to have QR codes, put something on the blockchain, have everybody who needs to have tracking information sent it automatically. A lot of that's done on like an intranet right now with FedEx or UPS, but blockchain can add a ton of efficiency into supply chain management like that. So
I'm sure
could be a big thing there too.
So cool. Consensys. We're gonna be watching it. Keep an eye out. Next up. Keep this moving. The crypto scene in South Korea. So this is something I wasn't, I guess, 100% sure of how big it actually was. And there is a link in the description below. You guys should check it out. It's about a 45-minute video. And this was CNBC Crypto, which is the CNBC in South Africa. The guy that hosts the show, he went to, South Africa. He went to South Korea. And what he did was interview a bunch of hedge fund managers, a bunch of projects out there, and just getting an overall sentiment of the cryptocurrency market. And what I found out watching that video is pretty much everybody's talking about crypto in South Korea. I mean, they are on top of this stuff, and it is just absolutely like blowing up out there. Yeah. So one of the projects that I am interested in and that we've been talking about is Ikon. Ikon is a South Korean platform similar to Ethereum. Here, I'll bring up the chart. And right now, I think ICOs are technically illegal still, right?
It's kind of the law is moving fast there, so I would have to double check. They were made illegal, absolutely. It was one of the big FUD events of the last 6 months, but they're aggressively moving forward. They want to reopen things. I think they've set a date to make them legalized again. They're
pushing for It's not legal yet, but they're pushing for legalization. So last year, if you guys weren't around, 2017, South Korea banned ICOs, and South Korea is like huge tech hub. They banned ICOs. Well, right now there is a platform called Ikon in South Korea that is looking to make ICOs launch more efficiently. So, in the video, if you guys go check it out, they talk a lot about Ikon and a lot of the big ICOs that are going to be coming out of South Korea. But yeah, as soon as they make ICOs legal, I think there's some already lined up. I wanted to cover them in this webinar. Some of the ones that they mentioned in the video. The biggest one that they mentioned is Phantom. And this is, like, everybody in South Korea was talking about this one. Phantom. You're going to have to watch the video because I can't, they don't describe it too in depth, but they really do a good job of hyping it up, and they talk about DAGs. Are you familiar with DAGs?
Basically it's a technology that sort of uses blockchain, but it's a different consensus mechanism. Like
it's
IOTA.
Not blockchain. It's
IOTA is a DAG, but yeah, it's similar, but it's more cutting edge. It's more computer sciencey than I'm prepared to talk about.
Well, they're aiming for 300,000 transactions per second.
Yeah.
It solves the issue of scalability. But DAG, from my understanding of blockchain, it works. Everything has to verify each other before moving forward, and this thing moves in sync. So apparently, it's going to be huge. I'm not the guy to talk the intricacies of these projects, but they were really hyping it up, and I'm interested to learn more about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, these are all ICOs. Another one was Blue Whale. This one's going to be a decentralized ecosystem for the self-employed, freelancers. This was a big one, again, in South Korea. And these are all coming up in the next month. So I have not been able to get in this because they don't allow U.S. citizens. So if I find a workaround, then maybe I'll throw some Ethereum at it. But yeah, these are a lot of big ones, and they're really hyping them up. Another one's Sentinel Protocol. These were all mentioned in the video. You guys should go check it out. This one comes out in 10 days. So I'm assuming ICOs are going to be legal before then. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, they got some kind of workaround. Yeah, but they're pushing hard. And in fact, ICX was designed specifically to comply with Korean law in order to, and the word Ikon has the word ICO in it, so that's a little hint, wink, wink. But yeah, I think what they're trying to do is realize that, as much as I don't like the fact that ICOs have dominated the space, and that a lot of ICOs are plain exit scams, conceptually, a fundraiser is a legitimate use for a blockchain. It's actually a really good use case. It decentralizes fundraising, gets around some of the junky regulation that's there that makes these kind of things difficult. But that's why it's been so controversial, I guess. ICOs are the reason that Facebook and Google are not advertising cryptocurrency because they believe ICOs are just scams, which I think is unfair. But we're also very, very, very cautious. In fact, we have never actually recommended an ICO. Crypto Traders Pro has always advocated trading things that are actually trading live. But we're looking at them a little more. There's obviously tons and tons and tons of money spilling in. I can't picture us ever endorsing a specific ICO, but we're showing you these just because in relation to the Ikon blockchain, which I think is going to be a really special thing, partially just because it's Korean as well. Like Matt mentioned, the Korean market is a very, very heavy early adopting space. When I talked about, where can you go to spend your Bitcoin? Well, Seoul, South Korea is one of those places where, you can be walking and, you're never more than a block away from a place that you can buy something with Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash, which are the two most heavily adopted coins for use in South Korea. And then the other one would be Tokyo as well. But Tokyo and Seoul, South Korea are not very far from each other. So what do you got here? This partnerships here on Ikon?
Yeah, this is the Ikon network and all their partnerships. What I forgot to mention in the video, so they're talking a lot about interoperability. And these interoperability tokens are when blockchains are able to communicate and work with each other. So I would have thought WANchain and Ion, these are both interoperability coins or tokens that we've actually been talking about in March and April, and we made some profits. But I would have thought these were all competitors. But instead, Ikon has joined the Interoperability Alliance with WANchain and Ion. But they just have so many connections all across South Korea. I think this is going to be a game changer in the space. What was also mentioned, and I'm curious to see when this is going to come to the U.S. They said in 2018, we're going to see a lot of reverse ICOs. A reverse ICO is when an existing business or company launches their own ICO or token or cryptocurrency, whatever you want to call it. So that would be something like, I'll just use Amazon as an example, like Amazon launching their own token or cryptocurrency on their platform. So that would be called a reverse ICO. And they said these things are popping up in South Korea left and right. It's going to be very popular in 2018.
Yeah. I think that's a really cool development in the space, actually. Like the concept of these companies working together, I think is much more healthy than, you see some of the unhealthy negativity, like the Bitcoin maximalists saying, well, Ethereum will never do anything, or Litecoin's just, Bitcoin's little brother, or, rather than being kind of negatively competitive, I think one of the really cool things is, like, a lot of these blockchains are designed to do very specific things, very specific use case. And if Ikon can connect them, I think that can be a way for things to become more ubiquitous and more plugged into the actual economy. I think one of the cool things, like my favorite thing about Ikon is that Ikon also functions as a DEX or a decentralized exchange. So if you need the WAN token in order to operate something, it can enter the Ikon ecosystem, and it can be decentralized or like DEX exchanged for Ion or whatever else. Is it Ion? For whatever else you need there too. So using these things, using like this simple interchangeable nature of these coins, I think is a really great way for them all to have value as part of a greater whole, rather than competing with each other directly on everything.
You wanted to talk about Hedera hash graph?
Yeah, speaking of DAGs, what a DAG, I don't remember what the DA stands for, but the G is graph. There's a bunch of different ways to do consensus. Like Ripple, for example, has pre-mined coins. So all the coins have been mined. That's why Ripple has such high performance. Bitcoin has such low performance because it has a very slow mining algorithm, and that's, debatable which should have more value and why. But one of the big things coming out of it's a U.S. concept, Hedera hash graph, is one of these coins that's kind of way out, looking way forward, completely getting away from the consensus algorithms of the past. They're talking about literally tens, if not hundreds of thousands of transactions per second. Of course, they are not mainnet at the moment, but they're working on going that direction, being one of these blockchains, or not a blockchain, it is a graph, but being a platform upon which everything else could run. So the concept there, as we talk about, ICOs and Korean development, if you're more interested in working with a Western a Western platform, Hedera is the company behind Hashgraph. There are a little bit of some centralization concerns, actually. They are a patented concept, but they have an open blockchain that they want, or not. I don't even know what to call it. They have an open graph upon which you can develop. So they'll have a private and a public version of the hash graph that you can use for consensus. My understanding is that it's buggy. It's still kind of in a testing zone, but it's something that people should keep a really close eye on, because it could be one of the things that's a big step forward. Of course, it could also be a dud, but just want to tell you guys pretty early to check it out, stay up on it, maybe set a Google alert for Hedera and Hashgraph separately and follow the progress there, because if they start to really pull ahead and there's big developments in the space, then you could see a lot of companies that would otherwise be using someone like Ripple or Stellar maybe move to something more like Hashgraph, which would be quite a bit more efficient and very different. It's just a very different concept in the space. So I wanted to bring it up while we were talking about ICOs and as DAGs were being mentioned.
So Jack said in the chat, it's interesting to see Matt talk about ICOs and DOT. That is true, but I never deny there's money to be made in ICOs. There's definitely money to be made in ICOs. I just think they are risky.
They're riskier, absolutely.
You're betting on a team to deliver a product after raising a ton of money. It doesn't always work out like that. Yeah.
Well, you got to think about human nature. Like my problem with it is you take people that are capable of marketing. My background is marketing. I was a marketing professional for a long time before I started becoming a cryptocurrencies professional. And the way that marketing works is that if I were to raise 10 grand and put together a really nice website and put together a Google ad campaign and that kind of thing, and basically just invent a project, that would be something that you could expect to raise a little bit of venture capital money and all of that. But just in the last year and a half, you've been able to launch an ICO, and some of these ICOs are making $50 million in a month, and they don't have a product. They spent 10 grand on a website and a Google ad campaign, and now you're multi-millionaire. Sometimes with a very small team, sometimes 3 people, and you've raised $40 million. Well, what's your what is your motivation to then put years of work into developing a functioning blockchain? Well, yeah, sure, maybe there's billions down the road, but splitting $30 million three ways is retirement money, frankly. And I think a lot of people take that money, they run, they exit scam completely, and they just say goodbye. That was all the money that I ever hoped to make in my life, and I quit. So Free Ducky here is saying here on YouTube, yeah, real product with a high demand, unlike a lot of the vaporware out there. Pundix chain. I don't know what Pundix is, but that's the real problem, is that ICOs are almost always 99% vaporware. They don't exist yet. They don't do anything yet. They're promises and websites, and then when you make people too rich too quick, they lose their motivation to work hard. So that's our general ICO position, and the reason we're a little bit aggressively opposed. So I think we're starting to get close to getting through the end of our thing. We're going to talk about Coinbase, the influx of customers they're expecting and stuff. So as we get into the last topic, please feel free, drop questions. If you want to drop questions live, we want to read your questions, answer them live on the air. So if you have questions about specific projects, if you want to talk about, if you want to see the chart on a specific coin, please let us know. Let us know what the coin is, where it's traded, that kind of thing. Or if you have fundamental questions, Matt and I are both very happy to answer fundamental questions about blockchain or about the business of blockchain. Why some coin may be better than another from a fundamental perspective. All of that's fun. We can talk about some hot topics, and since there's nobody here to debate, we can shill whatever we want ultimately. But feel free, ask questions, start filling questions in as we make our way onto the last topic for the webinar here.
So, Coinbase. This is what a lot of people love to talk about. What is going to get added to Coinbase in 2018? Well, what Coinbase did put out, we posted this article in the group not too long ago. It just came out maybe a few days ago. Coinbase said that they are expecting it to double in the coming months. So they've increased how many people can get on their servers, and they're expecting a massive influx of customers in the next few months. So to me, my best guess of what's going to happen is they plan on adding additional assets to their platform. I'm going to go out and say by August 2018, we will see other coins, or at least one other coin or asset, probably an ERC20 token, that is able to get traded on Coinbase.
Yep.
As well as GDAX, as well as their index fund that they've said they're going to launch. So, what is the coin that's going to get added to Coinbase? I've been very outspoken about my best guesses, which I will bring up here on the charts. We have BAT, BAT, Basic Attention Token. Actually looks pretty good on the chart right now. It has been coming down recently, but it looks like it could have possibly found a bottom here. So we got BAT. We also have ZRX. These are my top two Coinbase picks of 2018. And I'm betting that they will get added by August 2018. So that is my outspoken bet. If it's wrong, it's wrong. But I will say I did call Bitcoin Cash getting added to Coinbase, and it happened within 2 or 3 days of me posting the video in the Facebook group, and I made a large chunk of change on that trade because I bet so heavily that it would happen.
Yep.
So ZRX and BAT, those are my two picks. Reason being, ZRX has advisors on Coinbase. They're looking... Actually, you know what's funny is somebody posted... They have the same exact mission statement. Let me see if I can...
Oh, really?
Coinbase and ZRX have the same exact mission statement. Let me see if I can find that on Twitter. Here, right here. So, 0x tweeted, "Build an open financial system for the world." So this is their mission statement. It's a building block, plug in your own smart contracts. Build an open financial system for the world. Coinbase, right off their website, our mission is to create an open financial system for the world. So
interesting.
Kind of funny. 0x is the protocol that can get integrated for decentralized exchanges. And Coinbase has been very outspoken that they want to have a balance between being centralized and kind of working with all the regulations and stuff, and also being decentralized and supporting that as well. So I would not be so surprised to see Coinbase maybe launch their own decentralized exchange or implement it into GDAX. I mean, there's tons of possibilities here. What I do like about 0x is they offer shared liquidity. So I'm pretty sure what that means is that coins or decentralized exchanges that launch using 0x as the layer or the relayer, they all share a liquidity pool. So the number one problem I have seen with decentralized exchanges is a lack of liquidity. There's not many people using them right now. But if you take them, put them all together, and they share liquidity pools, that would open it up to a lot more.
Yeah, it'd be easier to get filled. That's very cool. I think one of the other things to point out about ZRX, if you look at some of the partners here, they include the Bitfinex people. I think it's up on the page. Right here. There you go. So you got District OX, Aragon. These are some major coins. Blocknet. Augur, yeah, Blocknet's there, but you'll notice Ethereum. So these are some major exchange partners there, and if 0x ends up being a coin that needs to be operating or is needed for the operation of a decentralized exchange at the level of some of these, well, then ZRX has a long way to move. Let's see. Actually, I can't read. Free Ducky on YouTube asking, wouldn't it be a bad time to get into ZRX since it's had such a big rally? It's climbed considerably. I don't know that there's a good clear entry on the chart right now. It's had a little bit of a pullback, I guess, but probably not the best option to get in.
It depends. It
depends what's happening. Like, why has it been pumping so? Like, it's about the healthiest looking chart. Yeah, which
it hasn't gone like straight up. It's had like 2 steps forward, 1 step back this entire time. So I like using this indicator, the 9-day EMA, which is the exponential moving average of 9 days. So when we see it below the 9-day EMA, the trend is bearish. When we see it above the 9-day EMA, it is bullish. And what it's been doing is riding it. So using it as support, using it as a guide. And what I've noticed as of late, we've had these large days where it's just really pumps, like right here on the 4th of May, had this huge pump, came back down, retested this line, continued the uptrend. Bounced off it again here, bounced off it again here. So these have all presented like dip buys. So as long as it's holding, it's only gotten below this line a couple times right here. It just wicked below. So as long as it's holding above this line and closing above this line, I think it is a good opportunity. What we're seeing right now is a nice RSI reset. So the RSI has been climbing. It's bouncing between 70 and 80, which is pretty high. But it keeps resetting. Every time it gets really high, it just comes right back down, kind of resets, and it's offering a nice slow and steady uptrend. Now when we see a big parabolic day, like something like over here, where we see it get super overextended from this line, it generally comes back down. Those are the moves that I don't think can be sustained, and I would stay away from those. But as long as it holds this slow, steady uptrend, it might not be a bad idea just to slowly scale in. Don't jump in with $10,000. Maybe add $1,000 or $2,500 at most. Slowly scale in. Do this with. I recommend doing this with anything, especially if you have a small account.
Yeah. Well, and I think what this chart is also showing us is potentially, when we talk about Coinbase picks or that kind of thing, well, then there's going to be people that are aware. And if ZRX is going to be the one that has a partnership with Coinbase, then there are people on the inside that have to be working on the project, which in a stock in stocks is called insider trading, which is totally illegal. I'm not necessarily morally opposed to the concept of insider trading. I don't think that it's like a a moral imperative to stop insider trading necessarily. But as I look at this chart, it tells me that it's possible somebody knows something going forward, and it gives us the opportunity to say, well, if the insiders are aware that something's going on, then maybe we could be maybe we can profit off of that. Maybe this is the start of a larger move. Of course, it is a little bit risky. If you look at the RSI is pretty high, and we're playing with the 9-day moving average. So it's a little bit of a riskier play than I would normally get into, but it has the potential to be a huge one. If it gets added to Coinbase, then it becomes something that could be bought with USD. It's the biggest exchange in the West. If you could buy 0x with your credit card instantly, then that would be a really big thing for 0x, and it would end up pumping aggressively, as every Coinbase pick has pumped. So that's kind of the big thing. I'm actually a believer that there could also be a case to be made for OMG and GNT added to Coinbase as well. I think they fit the template. They are currently ERC20. They're Ethereum-based assets at the moment, and they fit the other criteria of their decentralization. This is one of the reasons why I don't think Ripple will be added to Coinbase, at least in the near term, because their current roadmap does not want corporate centralized coins, of which Ripple is one. So, I think we could see some of these projects that are tied very closely to Ethereum end up being on that boat too. So, look for things that are closely integrated to the Ethereum Business Alliance or Enterprise Alliance, whatever they call it, and they could be possible picks as well, jumping into the Coinbase ecosystem.
I've also said I think GNT that would be my third pick, but I did end up recently selling it. It had a pretty big spike recently on the chart, so I ended up taking profits. Which again, I recommend if you see the big spikes on the chart, don't be afraid to take profits, because 9 times out of 10 they're going to come back down and you can get a better entry.
Sure.
So OMG, I don't see it, but there are a lot of people that think OMG has a chance. I don't see it, mainly because they are Philippine or Taiwan. They're on the other side of the world.
Thailand, I believe.
Yeah, I just see them as being other side of the world. Coinbase is focused on the U.S.
Yeah.
You can't even use Coinbase in those countries.
Yeah, it's true.
So that's why I don't see OMG as making it. And other people, people I think are just, there's kind of a lot of idiots out there. Like I posted on Facebook saying, what coins do you guys think could be added? And people just say like the stupidest things. Like there's no way. Like,
yeah, some of them don't make sense.
Like they clearly say in their framework that they like ERC20 tokens. They want to add ERC20 tokens. And people will still say stupid coins, and they'll say like privacy coins. And like, come on, do you really think Coinbase is going to add privacy coins? I doubt it. Yeah,
not right away. Not until things get more ubiquitous, which I think is the second or third time I've used that word during the webinar now. So any other thoughts on the Coinbase, or should we move on to some of these questions?
Yeah, let's answer some questions and then call it a day. It's been about an hour and 30 minutes, so let's answer some of your guys' questions. Any thoughts on the Neon Exchange?
Neon Exchange. I don't know a ton of specifics about the Neon Exchange, other than it's an exchange based on the Neo blockchain. Essentially, it's a DApp, is my understanding.
Right here, decentralized exchange.
Yeah, so it's a decentralized exchange that allows like cross blockchain exchanges. They're probably using an atomic swap feature, or atomic, whatever they call it, to run. I think Neon Exchange. They're all really good ideas. I think all of the decentralized exchanges are a good thing conceptually. But what they all lack is liquidity. And I think, if I were to show up and have, let's just say I had 10 Bitcoin and I want to buy 10 Bitcoin worth of, let's say I want to buy 10 Bitcoin worth of Neo, for example. If nobody has that much Neo to sell me, then I place my order and it just sits there for days or weeks. And that's not really the kind of trading that I want to do. It can be okay for long-term holding if it doesn't really matter, but right now, I'm in a position where I want to be buying stuff to sell in a shorter term than potentially weeks. If it takes me weeks to get filled, then I don't know that I'm necessarily going to be going to a place like that. This is why Matt and I like Bitfinex. It's why we have begrudgingly moved over to Binance. Like volume and liquidity really matter a lot for an exchange, and it's one of the things that we really like about ZRX is this shared liquidity is a really good thing. It's why we're bullish on that platform specifically. But I think the entire decentralized exchanging universe is a very cool thing. Like BitShares is super cool, Waves is very cool, Komodo is very cool, but none of them have really solved that problem. But ZRX using this kind of shared pool, I think is one of the things that makes it stand out, gives us the opportunity to do something special there. So unless I'm missing some grand thing about Neon Exchange, then that's my rough opinion on it.
It doesn't even look like they're mainnet. It says the mainnet trading release begins in Q3, so we got another couple months to wait. But
sure.
Yeah, there's a ton of decentralized exchanges, and I think if they're all integrating with 0x, that's going to help 0x.
Yep.
And also them all pooling their liquidity together would be the best case scenario.
Yeah, absolutely.
Otherwise, they don't have a chance, I don't think.
Yep. All right, next question here is from Jack saying, why do many people look at the dollar value for a lot of altcoins when they don't even have a dollar trading pair? Market cap is measured in dollar as well, but the Satoshi value is what actually determines the value for them. I think this is one of the this is probably top 3 questions that we ever receive. I think a lot of people look at dollar value because they don't think of Bitcoin as money. So it's harder to look at the Satoshi value. If something is 1,300 Satoshis and goes up to 1,400 Satoshis, but Bitcoin dropped in value, they're not sure if they made money or not. So, Matt, maybe I'll pass to you. I think you're better at explaining this one than I am.
The Satoshi value?
I
was putting on the moving average. Someone's asking about the moving average.
Oh, okay, sure.
Oh, Jack, same person.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I can continue to go on about it.
But the issue people have with the US, they just don't understand. And I think that's the biggest issue, and that's like one of the things you need to learn when you first get into crypto is that BTC is separate from USD. And if you're trading with BTC, you need to focus on the BTC chart. And if you want to accumulate more USD, that's fine. But why would you trade the BTC chart if you want to focus on solely USD? It doesn't make sense. So a lot of coins you aren't able to trade with USD unless you're on exchanges like Bitfinex, where they are offering a ton of pairs in USD. They're adding new pairs almost weekly, it seems. When I was first getting on Bitfinex, they maybe had 10, 15.
Yeah.
Now they have probably 30 to 50. And they just added VeChain the other day, and it's a USD pair.
Yeah, it's awesome.
The issue with Bitfinex is a lot of the new coins you cannot trade on margin or with leverage. So they lack a lot of volume and liquidity. Bitfinex is mainly used for the margin trading, leverage trading. People get the other coins on Binance because that's what you think of when you want to buy altcoins. Well, Binance doesn't necessarily offer a lot of USD pairs, much like something like Bitfinex. So I think if you don't really believe in Bitcoin's long-term value is going to keep going up, then you shouldn't focus on accumulating more Bitcoin, but rather focus on accumulating maybe more Ethereum. Or you could also, you don't have to think in terms of that. If you do profit in Bitcoin, you take your profits out in Bitcoin, you could put them into something else that you like. I know Kurt likes Monero, Bitcoin Cash. There's other long-term holds that I have. Like before, I would just put everything in Litecoin. So I would trade on Bitfinex. I would trade with leverage on the USD charts. So even though I was using my Litecoin. So say I have $50,000 in Litecoin on Bitfinex, and I'm trading Neo USD. Well, I'm using that Litecoin as leverage to be able to buy Neo with the USD chart. So when I profit and I get profits on that, or if I get a loss, it's going to be in USD. So say I profit $20,000 on that trade, I realize it. That means I'm going to have $20,000 USD in my account. And then what I would do is just buy coins that I like. Or you could still sit in Tether or USD. It really depends on you. But before, what I was doing is just putting all that USD I was profiting from, I was putting it in Litecoin, taking it off the exchange, putting it in storage, and that was my game plan November, December 2017. But now that Litecoin, I don't see as much long-term vision for it as I did before, so I'm looking to kind of change up that strategy and figure something else out for the long term.
Yep. Well, yeah, at 30 to 50 bucks, Litecoin was a good hold. It was a good place to store some money because it had a lot of upside. Now, I think the market is changing rapidly. I think some of these single usage cryptocurrencies are becoming less and less valuable, like as a concept, because there's a few reasons for it. Either Bitcoin's going to win and beat out everybody, and Lightning Network's going to be super successful, and everybody in the world is going to buy everything with Bitcoin or Bitcoin using Lightning, in which case, why do we need Litecoin? Or the concept behind Bitcoin falls apart and Bitcoin ends up losing its top spot, which again, like Litecoin is very similar to Bitcoin, and that again begs the question, why do we need Litecoin? So, it's interesting how it's more of these integrated platforms. You get people talking about like Nano or Flashcoin or some of these other things that are doing big experimental things, and maybe something like that would be better. I am actually a Monero and a Bitcoin Cash fan. The reason I like Monero is it has the very specific utility of being completely anonymous, so that has value. That has a value that Litecoin just simply does not. And then Bitcoin Cash, some people like to say that Litecoin is better than Bitcoin Cash or Bitcoin Cash is better than Litecoin. It's a very long conversation, but starting May 15th, which is coming up very quickly, Bitcoin Cash will be the first SHA-256 mined coin that'll be able to do over 250 transactions per second. So, Bitcoin Cash is starting to really pull away from the competition in the major cap coins. And, as long as everything goes well with that network upgrade, I think there's going to be a very big case for Bitcoin Cash going forward. And I've been accumulating it since it was about 350 bucks. So, and I kept my Bitcoin Cash forked coins because I was excited about the fork as it was coming up. So I think Bitcoin Cash is a good long-term buy, good long-term play. And, a year or two, Bitcoin Cash could be the thing that is running more transactions than potentially anybody. So, yeah. So that's my position there.
Jack was asking about moving average again. I like using the 9-day EMA. It's a shorter time frame. But 200 EMA was mainly used in stocks when I was trading stocks, because a lot of these coins haven't even been around 200 days. And Bittrex, you mentioned on Bittrex. Bittrex is a dying exchange. So I think people are getting off of Bittrex, but it does have charts that date back a long time.
Yep.
Like if I pulled up the same chart, XRP BTC on Binance, which is where it probably has the most volume, or Bitfinex, it doesn't exist because it hasn't been on this exchange for that long. XRP BTC on Bitfinex, like it's barely been on here more than 200 days. So
right.
I don't see that as, I mean, yeah, it's I don't know. I think we need to age a little bit more.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is a good indicator. I just like the 9-day EMA. It's a little bit faster paced. I think crypto's a little bit faster paced. A lot can change in 9 days.
Yeah. Yeah, it sure can.
So before we wrap it up, I just want to go over the site, what everybody what we see on the back end of the site. We get questions all the time about the watch list, about the signals, about the pro community, about the course, everything. So if you are a watch list member, again, the watch list is only $27. This is something I work on every single week. So Monday and in 2 days, I'm going to be putting out the watch list. The watch list is a video. So what you get is, if you purchase the watch list, you get 4 of these. You get a month-long worth of watch lists. So every month or every week on Monday, I put out a video. Most of these are between 10 and 15 minutes. And you're going to get a review of either Bitcoin or Ethereum or one of the top coins. And then I do 3 to 5 coins that I like on the charts that have upcoming news. So I'm going to be telling you what I like on the charts. It's not like a signal. It's saying, this is what I'm looking for. Here's some upcoming news. This might be a good play in the future throughout the week. So there have been some winners that have come out of the watch list, but a lot of these watch list picks also usually sometimes end up as signals. So it might not be a good entry then, but maybe throughout the week as I'm watching it, that's why it's called the watch list, they do end up being good plays.
Mm-hmm.
So watch list page, this is $27 for the month. It's not per week, it's for the whole month. It's about $1 a day, actually less. Now the signals package, this is a little bit more in depth. So signals package, again, you're probably going to see all the signals, but you get analysis, you get the signals.
Right, for free via this YouTube video.
Well, they'll be expired, but you get analysis, and every day I'm posting charts, an in-depth analysis. I'm not just writing a sentence or two. I'm telling you what I think is going to be going on here and what I'm looking for on this play. So I do analysis. I also do signals. But what also is unique is the portfolio page. So the portfolio page is unique to Crypto Traders Pro, and what it is, it's updates of the signals. So it tracks them. So you get the signal, right? You get the signal sent to your phone, but what do you do afterwards? How do I know how long that signal is good for? How do I know when you're selling? How do I know when you're buying more? How do I know how to move my stop loss up? All the information is in the portfolio page. This is unique to Crypto Traders Pro. It shows active signals. It shows inactive signals. It tracks them. It says the profits and losses. There have been about 20 to 25 signals over the last month. I think 4 or 5 have been losers. So it's full transparency. I lose. It's possible to lose, but I show you strategies on how to mitigate those losses so you don't blow up your account. And the winners far outweigh the losers. Our biggest loss has been maybe 10%, 12%, but the winners are 100%, 75%, 50%. So they far outweigh the losers if you listen to my guidance. Now the video library, this is webinar type calls similar to this, like what we're doing now. We do them every single week with the Pro group. So these are only for members of the Pro community, but we answer questions. It's much more one-on-one. So we're answering exactly what you want to know. We're talking about our signals. We're talking about the markets. It's much more small scale, but it's members of the Pro community. There's about 175 to 200 people total in the Pro community. Then you got the course. If you're going to get anything, I recommend the course if you don't know much about trading. This is about 21 hours long. All the episodes here laid out, everything you need to know, all my knowledge over the past 6 years of trading, compact into this course. It takes you very beginner steps, exchanges, wallets, trading tools, intro to chart patterns, all the way through to the very intricate stuff of developing your own strategy, advanced TA, different chart patterns, Vicious, which is my favorite episode of breaking down what you need to do prior to getting into a trade, analyzing your risk, and there's also live trades. So this is something that I don't think anybody else offers. There's other courses out there, but I don't think anybody is legit unless they're showing you exactly what their trades are and proving that they could make money. So in these 2 episodes alone, there's about $150,000 in profits I made over the course of 2 months, actually about a month of filming. So there's trades I'm going long, there's trades I'm going short, there's day trades, there's swing trades. Any type of trade you could think of is in this course. And I think there's maybe one or 2 losers, and total I made about $150,000 over the course of a month. So I think that is it. Portfolio, yep, we did it all.
Yep, that's everything we got. You know, Matt and I are working full time. Usually 7 days a week. We're a little bit slower on the weekend. At least I usually take Saturday mornings off to spend a little bit of time at the gym and release some stress. But yeah, we're 7 days a week. We're doing live calls. We're available for our Pro group for discussion. A lot of you guys know, we'll chit chat with you on Facebook or social media. We like to interact. But we're really doing this. I think what really sets us apart is that, we're not based on a cult of personality. I call Matt a technical analysis guru all the time, but we're not asking you to pay us to just get information from Matt. What we're actually doing is we're trying to teach people how to be their own self-sufficient trader. And if you take the course, if you practice, and we're willing to help you, like obviously we want to give you signals and stuff as well, but at the end of it, we want you to begin to teach us, because people develop their own strategies and they start to develop things that work really well for them too. We've got a couple members in the group that started with us, and this is our private Discord group where we have these conversations. And we've got people that started, didn't know what to do. They've made tons and tons and tons of money. Some of our students have done absolutely absurd amounts of profit here, but they reach out and they say, hey, I'm starting to discover like a new pattern that works really well for me, or how to specifically play a certain kind of play that's done really well for them. And that's the kind of thing that as a teacher, like that's the best. I've done a lot of teaching and education stuff in my life, and the best thing is when your students start to teach you something, and that's something that we absolutely strive for. We'll pass the mic. We're doing live webinars, and we have one of our students on, I think it was Tuesday, jump in and said, hey, you know what? I'm using fib on the trend line, and I want you guys to see what I'm looking at. So we passed the reins over to Vance in the group and had him just go for about 20 minutes, and we all had the discussion. And so this is not like Matt and I are not making millions of dollars and stuff, just trying to hoard information. Like we're trying to give you everything we know, so that you can be self-sufficient and then teach us. And then we've got a brain trust of people that trust us and people who we trust that we can trade with as a group. And that's really when things become the most profitable and really the most fun. So, joining the pro group or even the beginner group is a really good way to basically just make about 200 new friends and learn how to profit together. So,
and it really depends. Like if you guys don't know which would be best for you, you feel free to contact us. Like the pro group, you're gonna get into it you're gonna get out of it what you put into it. So if you are somebody that just wants signals and just doesn't really have time to learn and doesn't really care, then it might not be for you. But if you actually want to try and make the most out of cryptocurrency and actually maybe go full time one day, or that's your end goal, becoming a full-time trader, quitting that terrible job and being actually financially free, like if that's your end goal, then we could try and make it happen. But you have to put in the work. This is not like you just copy my trades and become rich. It doesn't work like that. You need to learn how to do this yourself. I did want to point out Felix. Felix just joined the group. Actually, he just started trading in February. He joined the group, and he was a little bit hesitant about the initial joining the group and all, but he really wanted to learn how to trade. And it's really crazy that in April, the end of April, he made a trade that was $11,000, and this was on EOS. And now he's like the biggest EOS fanboy, but he just started trading in February, and he had like $20,000, or it wasn't too large of an account. It was a larger account, but he didn't have anything crazy. And he made an $11,000 trade on EOS, and it was a nice profit. But a lot of people profit. A lot of people, they don't put the time in to actually learn to become traders. That's fine too. It really depends what you want to do, who you want to be, and what you want to get out of cryptocurrency and trading in general. We aren't day traders. We aren't jumping in and out of positions every single day. Generally, when I jump in a trade, I'm planning to hold it for a few days, few weeks, few months. That's what I always say. Generally, a longer time frame results in more profits. I'm looking at the bigger picture long term. I'm not looking at what's going on every single hour necessarily. Even though I am sitting here every day looking at the charts, I am not necessarily trading every single day. So that's something also to take into consideration. A lot of people call us day traders. I don't want to be a day trader. I want to be a holder. I just want to hold. Well, I'm holding too, but I'm also looking to take profits actively. I think that's the biggest difference between a trader and a holder. I'm actively always looking to take profits, where a holder is just holding and hoping it goes to the moon, and that's it. So.
Yep. So I think it's a good place to wrap it up. I just want to say thank you to everybody for joining us. It's been about 2 hours, and we really appreciate you spending the time. Matt and I work hard to put some of this stuff or put all this stuff together, and we're just really excited to share. We would really, really appreciate it if you would subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also join us on Facebook. We have a group that's just called Crypto Traders, and we also have Crypto Traders News. You can find us on Twitter at, what is it? Crypto
CT Pro Community.
There we go. CT Pro Community. That is.
I also
we need to buy a
own,
better one.
We also each have our own personal Twitters. I'm more active on here. The group Twitter is just posting stuff from our community. But if you want to follow us, it's I'm at Crypto Wonka,
and I'm at Kurt Wookert Jr. That's just my name. But yeah, just. Join us. We really just want to make friends. We want to make money together. We want to grow our bags of crypto. We believe in using cryptocurrency in the real world. And we want to make friends that we can do business with, because that's what this is really all about. Bitcoin was invented to give us a means of exchange that no one can stop. And we're looking forward to seeing you guys on the moon, of course, but we're looking forward to seeing you in the real world too. So let's work together. Let's have some fun. Join us all over social media. We'd be very happy to have you. And we're happy to reach out. You can reach out to me on my personal accounts anywhere, and Matt too. We're here to talk. We're here to have fun. We're here to learn from you, and we're here to teach. So have a lovely rest of your weekend, everybody. And I'm going to say peace out.
We'll see you on the moon.
See you on the moon.